Good morning, folks, and welcome to another great edition of Money Truth Moments with our very own Money Truth expert and money whisperer, Judy Copenbarger. How are you?
I'm fine. I am fine. I love that money whisperer. That just suits me. I am
Yeah,
doing
totally.
great. Loving the summer, loving July, loving the weather. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful time. So how are you doing? I understand you have been vacationing just a little bit. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, just a little bit, and I'll fill you in. Next week after we get through it. But it's been great. It's also cool that I get to do this with you, even now. So I want to make sure that our folks get to learn this week because we have a great subject for you guys. This week we're going to be talking about your financial life. Is your financial life ready for the unexpected? And I think a lot of us can relate with those unforeseen instances, unforeseen moments. So I want to make sure that we get to it. So what do you say we get started?
Let's do it. The unexpected.
The unexpected, right? I almost have. We should have like some horror theme music or suspense music for this, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Judy, nobody likes thinking about emergencies, but isn't that exactly why we should prepare before they happen?
Yeah. And I think, preparing doesn't mean we're pessimistic. It just means that we're ready, right? Because things will happen. We don't know when or what, but things will happen. And particularly financially, it can have a big impact. So we just want to be ready. And what does that look like?
So I think also one of the challenges I think is why do so many people delay preparing for life unexpected events, right? The
Oh,
denial I think is one of them for sure.
it's not going to happen to me. It's never going to
Mhm.
happen to me. We'll do that later, especially when we're dealing with people on their estate planning later. Why would I do it at 40? Why would I do it at 50? I'm going to die when I'm 97, right? And so, why would I do it? It's not going to happen. But really, preparing is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to people that we really care about, people that we really love. Preparing because it streamlines the process, whatever the process will be. There's so many contingencies in life, we can't really anticipate which one's going to happen, but something will happen at some point. We don't know what order we're going to, die. We don't know what order we're going to have an incapacity should that happen. We don't know who's going to be around or what they're going to need. But if we can resource them and have all those contingencies covered, which a good estate plan and a good insurance plan will do, it really goes a long way on the other side. And we deal with families on both sides, the planning side and then the something happened side.
Mhm.
And those meetings are very different. The meetings that we have with the families all around the conference room, the board table, the ones where the family um, member who has passed away or is in the nursing home or has had some trauma, accident, they're in the hospital, something. When we have the meeting and that has happened and there's been planning, it's still a tough meeting, but now we just have to connect the dots and here's the process of what needs to happen moving forward. Okay, great. The planning is there. We save the money, we save the hassle, we save the court intervention. We can just take care of business. The meetings that we have with those same people, same family members and everybody, the business owners and partners and all of that, when we have those meetings and there has not been proper planning, it's a whole different thing. Now we're on this track. There's planning and not planning, two tracks, right? Now we have to do these things and look at the expense and the delays and all the costs associated that will be required because of the supervision process. Usually probate, is one of those processes. Very, very different meetings. So planning is such a gift you can give your family and your business partners. It's amazing.
You're talking about this, and I think normally I ask you about life experiences and people you deal with, but I think I'm going to actually ask you. I think it's a perfect transition to ask about, obviously you never share names, but what situations in your career have you seen where a little preparation made an enormous difference? I mean, the good and the bad, I guess, for that.
Yeah, great question. So many. One area is just cash. Do you have cash on hand? Do you have the availability to get cash? And we saw this throughout COVID. There were small businesses. I work with a lot of small business owners and people that have, collect real estate and things like that. And the ones that had the availability to deal with cash, to get their hands on cash, did well. They weathered really well through that COVID process. They kept their businesses open. They were able to pivot, when the regulations were changing. They had a restaurant. Now you have to put in the screens. Remember, we had to have the screens between the booths so you wouldn't breathe on people. Then you had to go outside, build an outside deck, put everything so far away.
Yeah.
All those things. So the businesses and the small businesses and the people, a lot of people couldn't work, right? And there was times before they turned on the extra money that the government provided. That it's like, what am I supposed to do? I'm month to month, and now there's no income. The emergency savings and the people that could access like a HELOC or get their hands on money did well, and that's preparedness. Things like beneficiaries, if you think about having the proper beneficiary. I've had meetings over the years that are just so disappointing. People come in, it's like, I was referred into you. I have a problem. I was married to this guy for 20 years and then he died and all the insurance went to his ex-wife. I doubt he meant that.
Wow.
Well, he just never checked the beneficiary, right? So I was like, so I've heard of those stories and had those things happen many times. It's like, well, check your beneficiaries. It's simple to do. Get the form, call your insurance agent, call your 401k provider, make sure your beneficiaries are updated. And best, if you have a trust, get your estate planning done. Have the trust be the beneficiary. If you have a spouse, you could put them first, right? But have the trust be the beneficiary because we don't know who's going to die first. And you don't want to ever have a beneficiary designation that ends up being empty because that person has predeceased you. Now we're going to have to probate that or do some other small estate petition to get that money freed up. And it's such a hassle and it's so expensive, not at a good time. We're either grieving or dealing with a loved one who is not well. And those are stressful times already. Why add financial stress? Things like that. Make sure your life insurance is appropriate. You have the right amount for the right purpose. Sometimes we need insurance, when our kids are little. Sometimes we need it for business purpose, to cover a loss in a business. Sometimes we need it for estate planning or legacy. Make sure our kids get educated, things like that. But those needs change. So you want to do an insurance needs analysis, I would say every 5 years or so. Make sure you have the right kind, the right amount for the right reason. And those needs do change. So, and you want to make sure that's appropriate. Having powers of attorney and powers of attorney can be financial or for healthcare, talking to the doctors on your behalf if something you get knocked on the head and you can't, you're in surgery and they need to know what to do with you. Who do they talk to and what decisions would you like them to make on your behalf? And we had in California got real strict, probably I'd say 15 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, where you can't even legally, if you're a doctor or a healthcare provider, you can't talk to the spouse of someone who's laying there, just had a heart attack and they're going in for surgery or a stent or something. You can't legally tell any information to that spouse without oral permission. And if you don't have oral permission, you better have a paper, a healthcare power of attorney or directive of some sort, so they can talk to the person. Illegal to do that. They lose their license. And so, well, if you don't have that, but wait, that's my husband in there in surgery. That's my wife in there.
Right.
They can't say anything. The HIPAA, remember the HIPAA, HIPAA.
Mm-hmm.
So it says they can't. So all these things, having a current trust, a pour over will with a trust, they work in tandem. But all of these things are so simple to do. It's just knowing what to do and what are the priorities for them. So many stories of people that did it well and people that didn't. A lot of them are actually in the book and in the course that we provide. But it just gives you a little awareness of what you can do to prepare your family and simplify the process for them, whatever the process is, versus doing nothing because it's not going to happen to me, right?
Yeah. And I think I'm glad you brought that up because I think we, when I say we, it's a lot of people listening are those procrastinators. I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it until they're in a jam, like he's saying, medical reasons or whatever. And then you're kind of stuck because there's nothing you can really do. And it's like, would have, could have, should have, but you didn't. So here we are, and I think that's important. Exactly what you're bringing up with that.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, folks, if you're just joining us, welcome. Please make sure you're following Judy at judycopenbarger.today. Today's topic is your financial life ready for the unexpected. And we've already gone through some very great questions, some great answers. And I want to talk a little bit about the money myth that everybody it's out there, right? The I'm too young to worry about estate planning. You want to address that?
Well, that's just silly. We all know people that died way too soon and way too sudden. It's happened to some of us in our families. It's happened to some of us in our inner circle, our friends or spouse of a friend or parent of a friend or something. And it's like, shouldn't happen, but it's not going to happen to me. That's the farce. It's like, it's going to happen. We just don't know when or how. So why don't
Right.
we be ready? We can have the meeting that is pleasant for the family or more pleasant for the family, or we can have the one that's just like, why didn't they do something? All they had to do was call somebody and do something. So many outcomes that we can control, and this is one of them. So let's just get our stuff together and get it done.
So let's talk a little bit about if someone wanted to complete just a basic financial preparedness review this month, where should they begin?
Well, I think you need to look at the areas, and everybody's got a different um, family, a different plan, different assets, different holdings, things like that. So I would say if it's a young family, general advice, this isn't specific advice, it's very general. I would say start with life insurance, and it could be simple, dirt cheap, term insurance. If the big what if happened, would your family be okay? And it could be that you have extended family that can cover, and maybe there's relatives that have,
Mhm.
financial resources that can cover, and that's great. But if you don't have that in place and you don't want to be a burden or there aren't resources available in your family, you better have some insurance. And it's a lot less expensive than most people think. It's not very much money. And that can just cover you for 10 years, 20 years, 25, 30 years during your working years to get you to the point where you actually have accumulated some wealth on your own. But if that happened, I mean, how's the mortgage going to get paid? How are the kids going to go to school? If you have just imagine you're 40 years old, you've got 3 or 4 kids, and they're all in school and they're all in soccer and they're all doing their life. And then one of you is missing, and it's a dual income household. One of you is missing. Are you going to be able to continue to pay all the bills and do life? And imagine the surviving spouse trying to go back to work next Tuesday after a funeral of their spouse. They're not going to be 100% for a long time.
All right.
And they're still trying to hold it together. Maybe they just need to take 6 months or a year off and create this new life and start all over. And how am I going to do this and parent the kids? It's devastating financially. And money doesn't solve everything, but what it does do is
All
give
right.
you options to bring in help, to take the time off, to get away, to do what you got to do to go through that whole grieving process, which my understanding, I have not lost a spouse, thank goodness, but I'm thinking from my experience, it's probably between a year and 2 years, sometimes longer, especially in a longer marriage, older folks, before they even feel normal. Like today, I have the bandwidth to decide if I want coffee or tea. Like sometimes it takes months or years to be able to answer a simple question like that. What do I want, coffee or tea? Because your brain is just, the grief process stops so many things. I once had a widow described to me, good friend actually, described to me the loss of her husband. And she said in that first several weeks, it's like the whole world stopped. But I could see people were still driving and walking and going through the motions and going to the store and going to the market and doing life. But the world had stopped. And it was so strange to watch people moving when everything was still. And she described it like that. And I thought, it's like your brain just like, I can't comprehend, I can't move. It's just, amazing. And I know everybody's grief experience must be a little different. Um,
Right.
but I just can't imagine. And then trying to financially hold things together without resources. So that's a gift that you can give your family. I'd say start with the insurance. That was a long-winded answer, but I'd say the other thing is in a young family, make sure that you have your will and trust together, and they should work together. It should be a pour over will with your trust. And then those other peripheral documents, the healthcare documents and the power of attorney. If something happens to one of you, you're out of the country or unavailable for health reasons, the other one can still carry on and take care of business for you without getting the court involved or all the hassle. that the financial institutions will, have you go through all these hoops, or you just show up with the paper and say, talk to me. You can talk to me. It's simple to do. I think all of those things are helpful. Insurance, estate planning. I think if you have a business interest, you've got a partnership interest, or you're running a corporation or a company with a bunch of subsidiaries, I've got folks with properties and businesses all over the country. And if something shuts down, if one of the partners can't be there to do their role, to complete their role, who will? And how are we going to fill that gap financially and then also logistically? It's planning. Even things like, I had a guy that was 42, went out for a bike ride and was hit and killed. Wow. Yeah, 4 little kids. So, the wife comes home to this news, and what do we do now? And her big thing, I mean, financially, they were going to be okay. Business wise, they were going to be okay. She had a good job. They had plenty of savings, insurance, all that stuff. So financially, it wasn't an issue. But what about the information? How do I turn off Facebook? How do I turn off LinkedIn? How do I access all the bank accounts, pay the bills, and everything that is digital online on the computer? Where are the passwords? Think about that. And passwords, you change some every month, you have to change. In my business, I'm
Right.
always update them. Where is that list? How can someone else step into your shoes if you don't come home one Friday night? How can someone step into your shoes and take care of business that is so much digitalized? I'm looking at my computer here. So much is digitized.
Digitized. There you go.
And how do you access all that? If somebody who does all that is not available, can you step into their shoes and take care of it? Does somebody know where all that stuff is? Is it written down? Is it in one of those electronic password storage? And where's the password to that, right? If there's a safety deposit box, which in the old days when we had papers, that's where they'd go, right? At the bank. A lot of people have safes in their home. We do. And so what's in there? How do I get in there? What's the code? Where's the key? Somebody needs to know that. Either your financial advisor, your banker, your neighbor, your family member somewhere. Let the kids know it's in a sealed envelope in the bottom drawer of my desk. Something. So someone can carry on and take care of business if all of a sudden you can't. What will they need to know? I call it a legacy key. And I actually have created a key fob. And it's the green thing. It doesn't look like anything else. And that's where the key is to the place that has all that information. And then keeping that up, keeping it fresh. So a family member can carry on if you're not here. And again, it's hard to imagine your life without you in it.
Right.
What would my kids do? What would my spouse do? What would my parents do? What would happen to my business? What would happen at work? Right? It's hard to imagine that, but I think it's worth going there to say, what is the answer to these questions? How can I prepare people who were left behind if I'm not here to carry on and take care of business and fulfill the role that I've had in these areas? That's the question. And answering that is one of the biggest gifts that you can give the people that you care about.
And you know what? We're at the tail end of the show, and I wish we had more time, but you know what that means, folks. Well, hey, you gave us a lot, and I'm really looking forward to this challenge because I think it'll be a continuation of keeping this conversation going for sure.
Oh, I hope so. I hope this is one of these shows that really gets people moving. So here's your challenge. Set aside an hour this week. Go through your beneficiary designations, anything that has a beneficiary. It's going to be life insurances, annuities, any retirement programs. They all have a 401k, IRA. All of those are going to have beneficiary designations. Go online at work, or look at the papers. Call your IRA person, and make sure your beneficiaries are updated. Make sure you know where all your important financial papers are, and leave a trail of crumbs. leave a trail of crumbs. Where are the documents? Where are the passwords? Where is whatever they need? Write that down, or let somebody know digitally where all that is. Make sure that at least one key person knows where the bodies are buried. where everything is. That's your challenge. And boy, this is a challenge that I really want you to take to heart and not just think, yeah, I'll do it one day. I don't really need that. You do. You do need this. This is a gift that you can give people. So that's your challenge. Take it to heart, write it down, get it done.
All right, folks, you heard the challenge. Next week, we're going to begin August with one of the busiest financial seasons of the year for families as they prepare to go back to school, the expenses, the transitions. So you don't want to miss that. Again, if you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.today. Don't forget, we are here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. with the replays on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Any last parting words, Judy?
Make it a great week. Enjoy your July and get your work done. Accept the challenge.
All right. Sounds good. Take care, you guys.